decided to get a live in because, well, I'm late to work because of traffic. You know, the funny thing about traffic jams, most traffic jams are caused by people slowing down to look and see what happened. Even if it's a 5 lane freeway, it's still 4 lanes and all likely open. If you would just keep driving instead of slowing down to look, it wouldn't be no traffic jam. But nevertheless, that's neither here or there. Oh, on a side note, shout out to Ticket TV and shout out to Chris Carter. And I heard 7-8 talk about it, and I'm gonna talk about this later on, maybe tonight, that Chris Carter exposed exactly what I've been implying and what I've been saying about Skip Bayless for years, that he's completely a fraud. But nevertheless, let's talk about the subject at hand. Now, we all know what happened this past Saturday. Terence Crawford had a fight in his debut at 154. And he won the fight via unanimous decision. Now, there is some controversy to the fight where you have some people that think that Terence Crawford lost. You have some people saying that Terence Crawford got exposed, which I think is absurd, because if that's the case, Canelo then got exposed in several fights. If that's the case, then Tank has got exposed in quite a few fights. But the thing is, I laugh at these people because it's always the same thing. It's funny how people love to matchmake for Terence Crawford and say who Terence Crawford should fight, who he hasn't fought, and the timing, the timeline of when he's fought this guy versus it. It's just excuse after excuse after excuse. And you have this new narrative that Terence Crawford is avoiding Boots Ennis. Now, here's the thing. Have you guys not forgotten that Boots is still campaigning at 147, and he says it's his, mission to become undisputed at 147. So once again, why are we still talking about a potential fight between Terence Crawford and Jerron Boots Ennis? But at the end of the day, what's going on? Like I said, some of these so-called Boots supporters are not really supporters of him. A lot of these dudes are just seeking payback for the beatdown that Terence Crawford laid on Errol Spence. Once again, it wasn't no excuse. Bill Terence Crawford got his hand raised as the winner of the fight because he dominated Errol Spence, and a lot of people wasn't prepared for that, because for years you had people pushing this narrative that Errol Spence was going to destroy Terence Crawford. I saw years ago that showed me that Terence Crawford was going to whoop Errol Spence's ass if they ever fought. I saw it once again at the Jeff Horn fight, and the fight went exactly how I thought it would go itself. I thought Errol Spence would win a couple of rounds, make it a little intriguing, but I thought Terence Crawford would figure him out by round 4 and then basically just start breaking Errol Spence down. Or Errol Spence would run into something later on in the fight. Terence Crawford had a tougher time with Sean Porter than he did Errol Spence, who had a life and death fight with Sean Porter, and people keep forgetting that. Errol Spence barely beat Sean Porter. And I remember talking to Kenny Porter after the fight. I told Kenny Porter, and that's why I respect Kenny Porter. He didn't get upset. He didn't get, he didn't say, oh, you don't know nothing about boxing. I told Kenny, and that's why me and Kenny been friends ever since. Because I told Kenny, I said, man, if Sean wouldn't have got dropped, man, he probably win that fight, or at least get a draw, which would have probably set up a rematch, or Errol Spence wouldn't have fought Sean Porter again. But I just see this pattern. It's Terence Crawford this, Terence Crawford that, and I just see a lot of narrative pushers. A lot of people don't like Skip Bayless and talk a lot of stuff about Skip Bayless. A lot of these content creators have a Skip Bayless mentality. They try to use the shock jock stuff. They try to shock jock you and say outlandish stuff by no stretch of the imagination did Terence Crawford lose that fight. And I was just talking to my boy. We was having a conversation and we was talking about the fight itself. Some people were saying, well, Terence Crawford didn't take it from, that guy. But then here's the thing. If Terence Crawford didn't take it, then the other guy wasn't trying to keep it, because he fought like a dude that was trying to survive, not a dude that was trying to impose his will. He wasn't fighting like a guy like, nah, I'm gonna push forward. I'm gonna come directly at you. I'm finna hit you with everything I got. I'm gonna stand in front of you. Like, he was moving around just as much as Terence Crawford was accused of moving around. So that's what I don't understand about Canelo, are people saying that Terence Crawford is running. And this is why I don't listen to a lot of other people. At the end of the day, if the dude won't stand still, if one dude is moving and the other dude is moving, well, for the most part, it might not be a good fight. It could be an uneventful fight. But when Terence Crawford did stay put, he landed some great combinations. Like I said, when I hear people say Terence Crawford get hit too much, it's what you call seeing Floyd Mayweather, where a lot of people say Floyd Mayweather was a runner and all this kind of stuff, which that's not true. But Floyd Mayweather was defense first, offense second. The whole repertoire of his offense was countering his defense. And a lot of people see how Shakur Stevenson and Floyd try to avoid not getting hit with big shots. Like it or not, Floyd did have a chin. So a lot of people who sit up there and criticize Floyd Mayweather, they base their assessment of seeing other guys who take chances. Terence Crawford takes more chances than Floyd Mayweather ever did. And nothing is wrong with that. But that's what you have when you have a lot of dudes. A lot of these dudes they're not Boots fans. They're just trying to get back for, Errol Spence getting the Texas T beat out of him. They channel and change it to something else and don't even really want to, talk boxing no more. A lot of people did that stuff. Or a lot of people just didn't know what to do. And, before the fight happened, everybody was talking about, hey, they got Terence Crawford losing to Errol Spence. He gonna get destroyed. Errol Spence is gonna stop Terence Crawford. Now, this is when the fight was signed. They had a date. They had the final press conference. Now, remember, you saw all them people talk about, look, man. Look. Errol Spence putting dents in the heavy bag. He putting dents in the heavy bag. Look. And then the only thing that happened was Errol Spence got dents put in his face and in his forehead by Terence Crawford. Then all of a sudden, oh man, well, it was the car accident. It was this. It was that. See what happens when you operate on your own? I operate on my own, and I don't know how many times. That's just real talk. Soon as the fight was over, did all of a sudden, oh man, it was the car accident. Oh, it was this and that. Oh, it's the drinking. That ain't got nothing to do with Terence Crawford. It ain't Terence Crawford's job to make sure Errol Spence stay out of trouble. It ain't Terence Crawford's job to make sure Errol Spence stop drinking, allegedly. And we all know what happened with him in Mo 3. Let's just keep it a buck. And this is a theme that I've been talking about for years. Like, man, everybody ain't meant to be a street dude. And as black people, to a certain degree, we need to stop pushing that narrative too. Blackness isn't defined by, how many times you've been arrested and how much dope you sell, how much whatever you push, how many guns you got and all that kind of stuff. To a certain degree, we need to stop celebrating that stuff. And it's all connected to television and film. That's why I don't respect none of these goofy ass black YouTubers, none of these bitches and niggas that sit up here and make video after video celebrating how they was in prison and stuff. and how they promote that poison and that foolishness to the black community, and how we got it ass backwards into thinking that if you educated and you articulate yourself very well, you some kind of sellout. We can make an argument who the real sellouts and who the real coons is and the real bed wenches and the mammies is when it pertains to that. Don't fuck with me. Now, I ain't talking about no particular person, but it's quite a few of that stuff on here. Now, somebody say, well, other racist dude, I don't care about them. They not my problem. I care about my people, black people. And that's just real talk. Now, here it is, getting back to boxing. Here it is with Canelo. Canelo then got away with fighting uneventful fights against uneventful opponents that nobody asked him to fight. But he don't get none of the criticism that Terence Crawford get. That's just real talk. But people say they have all this expertise and they're boxing aficionados, but they really ain't. They just hate Terence Crawford, no matter what the case is. But they don't call none of these other boxers out. Anybody that's been following my channel, check the consistency about me. One thing about me, I give every fighter props. When they doing good, I give them props. If they doing bad, I critique them. And for the most part, I try not to be disrespectful. But yet these dudes claim to call it right down the middle. My channel ain't fixated on just Terence Crawford. It's been a year since that fight happened. Move on from it. Move on from it. Terence Crawford is not ducking Jaron Ennis. Why are we talking about a fight when one dude is clearly campaigning at another division, and then Boots himself has been inconsistent about whether he wants to fight Terence Crawford or not? Boots did have a chance to fight Terence Crawford. It came out of his own mouth, hey, I wanted to stay loyal to Showtime. So nobody wants to bring that up. And that's why I understand when I have certain people on my channel or people that call me and say, man, I love black people, but I ain't with the pro-black stuff because these dudes don't practice what they preach. That's all I see is people tearing one black man down. And they wonder why Terence Crawford is very standoffish with the media, and particularly black media. And then the Errol Spence fanboys, which is hilarious. Some of them were trying to call themselves bullying people, and having an attitude like a little trick bitch because they wanted people to comply and be Errol Spence fun boys. Don't do it. Not gonna do it. And that's crazy. Hey, listen, if you was an Errol Spence fan and you thought Errol Spence was gonna win the fight, fine. Didn't happen. And then the thing is, people was getting real personal with Terence Crawford. Okay, if you think Errol Spence is gonna win the fight, that's one thing. But when you start saying and implying personal stuff about Terence Crawford, like real personal stuff, and you just see the hypocrisy also. Now everybody is talking about the situation when he was with Top Rank. Terence Crawford implied some stuff about Bob Arum, the same stuff that Shakur Stevenson implied or kind of was implied. But then the same thing goes to be said, how come you niggas don't have that same sentiment towards Al Heyman, who blatantly froze out black fighters, who blatantly put non-black fighters ahead of black fighters? How come y'all don't call him out for that? This is the same dude that paid Conor McGregor life-changing money. Conor McGregor still eating good off that money. Never had a professional fight in his life. And then you heard these, Conor McGregor is real popular. This and that. He ain't popular enough to get no 100 million, but he got it. But none of you so-called Hotep Black never said anything about that. But I did. Prolonging this fight, Al Heyman was the reason why this fight didn't happen for like 6 years, or almost didn't. He didn't want the fight to happen. But you so-called Black Hotep niggas didn't say nothing about that. You guys are laughable. This is why a lot of people don't invite me on their channels for debates. But then again, I don't want to debate nobody, because it's easy to poke holes in every narrative that you push out. It's easy. Fixated. Almost to an obsession with Terence Crawford. Y'all keep talking about Bob Arum, you talk about Eddie Hearn, you talk about Frank Warren and all this kind of stuff. Well, here's the thing. They not black. So to a certain degree, they might not understand. At least Bob Arum finally admitted that he don't understand this new generation of black men, black boxers. And it's not expected of him to know, because Bob Arum is in his 90s. So what's Al Heyman's excuse? What's Al Heyman's excuse? And then the problem is what I've been saying about Al Heyman. The reason why a lot of people turned on Al Heyman for years, Al Heyman had a chance to basically interact with media. His name is always out there, but then Al Heyman tucks his tail, doesn't want to make himself available to media. Al Heyman, I think if he would have made himself available to media, listen, we're not asking Al Heyman to always like have a mic shoved up in his face, but if Al Heyman occasionally would have reached out to the media, then he would have had probably more backing. And then it got to the point to where people had no choice. Some people had no choice but to turn on Al Heyman because they saw what was going on. Y'all constantly talk about what these white promoters are doing, but then you guys don't talk about what black promoters be doing, or so-called managers or advisors. You got to have the same energy, and you don't have the same energy. You never demonstrate the same energy. And that's the problem that I have with a lot of you so-called black content creators. And that's just real talk. But say what you want to say. Eddie Hearn do a better job of promoting black fighters than the brother. So what's the excuse for Al Heyman constantly putting these brothers on the back burner? He could have easily made a fight with Tank and Gary Russell Jr. years ago. But now there's not going to be an interest for that fight. He could have made that fight a few years ago when Gary Russell Jr. was asking for guys like Leo Santa Cruz and people like that. He saved Leo Santa Cruz for Tank. And then the PBC have this model. You keep hearing about some of these other promoters allegedly being fearful of matching black versus black fighters. Okay, so what's the PBC's excuse? Occasionally they'll do it. So I'm just saying, man, y'all don't have the same energy. And that's all that's going on with this Boots thing. They just won't get back for what happened to Errol Spence. And I just hope Boots is listening. Be careful about that, Boots, because some of these people that you think is your fans, they just they're temporary fans. And if you fight Terence Crawford and you lose, they gonna switch up on you. I've never seen this much contempt and hatred for one black man. And my thing is, you niggas support dudes like Tank, who, for the most part, display nothing but ignorance. Nothing. That's why you like dudes like Tank. This the same. Y'all didn't say, y'all expect Terence Crawford to be Malcolm X, but then none of you goofy niggas did say nothing about Tank constantly defending Ryan Garcia. And then when Ryan Garcia says that racist stuff that he said, then all of a sudden people get quiet. But y'all so pro-black. Y'all so pro-black. Y'all sit up there and say, oh, well, Bill needs to stop promoting and promoting that he from the streets and all this kind of stuff. But then y'all sit up there and say, that's why y'all mess with Tank, because he got it from the mud and all that stuff. Man, first of all, Tank been in boxing gyms since he like 8 years old. He wasn't in that much mud. Just because a nigga got a whole bunch of tattoos and stuff all over their body don't mean they that street savvy. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I see a lot of CB4 in Tank. Now, he might have some people around him that live that life, but, you know, at the end of the day, let's just keep it a buck. I can tell you this much up close at hand. I can tell you Terence Crawford is far more street. And the niggas that hang around Terence Crawford, I can tell you they far more street than Tank is. So I'm just keeping it a buck, but it ain't my job to sit up there and tell Terence Crawford's personal business. That's up to him to share with people, not me. So I'm just saying, y'all even inconsistent with that. You know why the media like dudes like Tank, really? Because he promote a stereotype. Once again, y'all demonstrate y'all content creators, y'all so-called, you know, subscribers, followers. Y'all inconsistent with who you have, you know what I'm saying, contempt for, and who you try to scold. You sit up there and say Bill shouldn't be talking that stuff, but I can tell you this much, Bill is more street than Tank will ever be. You keep forgetting me and Bill is both from Oakland, California. I knew about, and you know, once again, it ain't my story to tell, but I can tell you this much, back in the 90s, I knew about Bill, you know, and other stuff. I can tell you Bill's street credibility is pretty solid. If there was a line of credit for street credibility, Bill's would be up there. Because that's the thing, he really did. He really did his time. Oh, and another thing, Bill didn't get beat. Bill didn't get rolled up for having incidents with women. He was really out there in the mix. So I'm just keeping it 100. I don't exactly consider having incidents with women on a regular basis as having street cred. So, you know, I just got to put that out there. I just got to keep, like, imploding you niggas. Y'all like a building that, you know, need to get imploded for reconstruction, because a lot of you niggas need reconstruction. So there you have it. Anyway, had a good time cooking, y'all. It's your boy Town. I'm out.